Europe can choose to protect its own democracy, says Ursula von der Leyen in speech on whether to grant her a second term as President of the European Commission.
Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance promises to strengthen the US through domestic support.
Under pressure from fellow Democrats to drop his re-election campaign, US President Joe Biden tested positive for COVID-19.
Extreme heat continues to punish parts of southern Europe.
Ursula von der Leyen addressed the European Parliament ahead of a vote on whether to grant her a second term as President of the European Commission.
Europe cannot control dictators and demagogues across the world, but it can choose to protect its own democracy. And I will never stand by and watch it be torn apart from the inside or from the outside. I will never let the extreme polarization of our societies become accepted. I will never accept that demagogues and extremists destroy our European way of life. And I stand here today ready to lead the fight with all the democratic forces in this House.
The European Commission has not given the public sufficient access to its contracts to purchase vaccines against COVID-19, according to the EU Court of Justice. The missing information concerns in particular declarations of absence of conflict of interest and compensation. Coincidentally, the long-awaited verdict was delivered the day before the vote in the European Parliament in Strasbourg to elect the presidency of the Commission. A crucial vote for Ursula von der Leyen, who is running for a second mandate. The Commission has responded that it grants in general wide access to documents under transparency rules.
According to the court, the Commission should have provided more justifications for its refusal to grant access to certain provisions in the contract. So it's very much an issue of justification, I would say, rather than one of substance.
According to the court, the purchase of vaccines on behalf of the 27 member states allowed the bloc to quickly disperse €2.7 billion to place an order for more than 1 billion doses of vaccines. The court has been criticized by MEPs and individuals. They lamented that the Commission only provided them with partial access to certain contracts. The NGO Transparency International, which fights corruption worldwide, did applaud the verdict in principle.
En général, c'est une très bonne nouvelle pour la transparence et l'éthique à niveau européen. C'est un peu dommage qu'il n'y a pas, qu'on a dû attendre la décision de la Cour et que la Commission n'a pas assuré la transparence et donné accès au préalable. Nous espérons que la décision de la Cour va inciter la Commission à être plus transparent de manière proactive à l'avenir.
Another case about SMS exchanges between Ursula von der Leyen and CEO of Pfizer over COVID-19 vaccine orders is still ongoing.
Republican Party vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance told GOP members in Milwaukee that he and his presidential running mate Donald Trump will make America great again if elected. 39-year-old Ohio Senator, Marine veteran and critic of US support for Ukraine said he would do this through scrapping the country's reliance on foreign labor and energy and re-examining military aid.
Together, we will make sure our allies share in the burden of securing world peace. No more free rides for nations that betray the generosity of the American taxpayer.
It comes as many senior Democrats express mounting concern over whether their party's presumptive presidential candidate, the incumbent US President Joe Biden, who recently tested positive for COVID, would win office. The Democrats will formally announce who's on their ticket in early August.
US President Joe Biden, under pressure from fellow Democrats to drop his re-election campaign, tested positive for COVID-19 while visiting Las Vegas on Wednesday.
How do you feel?
He is self-isolating after experiencing mild symptoms, the White House said.
Do you have symptoms?
Unidos US President and CEO Janet Murguía told the guests that the president had sent his regrets and could not appear because he tested positive for the virus.
I was just on the phone with President Biden, and he shared his deep disappointment at not being able to join us this afternoon. The president has been at many events, as we all know, and he just tested positive for COVID.
In summer 2022, Biden tested positive 2 times in a row for COVID in less than 1 month. Biden recently announced that he would consider dropping out the presidential race if a serious medical condition emerged.
Hundreds of Israelis have protested in Tel Aviv, demanding that the Prime Minister close the deal to bring their remaining hostages home. They also demanded that Benjamin Netanyahu explain his recent public statement where he said that the hostages are suffering but not dying. The protest comes as an Israeli delegation arrived in Egypt to continue ceasefire talks while Israel and Hamas consider the latest proposal. International mediators continue to push Israel and Hamas towards a phased deal that would halt the fighting and free about 120 hostages still held by the militant group in Gaza. Europe's biggest LGBTQ sporting event has kicked off with an opening ceremony in Vienna's Karlsplatz Square. The Eurogames will see 4,000 athletes from 50 nations compete in 31 different sports, ranging from tennis and badminton to football and roller derby. This year is the first time Austria have hosted the Games. Thomas Nobis, who is organising the tennis tournament, praised the event for its inclusivity.
Es ist wichtig für die Community, dass wir uns treffen in einem Safe Space. Wir fühlen uns wohl, wir fühlen uns sicher. Wir sind aber trotzdem offen für alle Menschen, die hier mitspielen, die zuschauen, die uns supporten und auch vielleicht der ganzen Community bisher noch nicht so sehr begegnet sind.
Gay icon Conchita Wurst of Eurovision fame headlined the event, welcoming the participants to Vienna. The Eurogames were first held in 1992 in The Hague. Different cities have hosted the event since then. Vienna has donated €150,000 to the cause, as well as providing free access to many sporting venues. Countries across southern Europe have issued extreme weather warnings due to potentially dangerous heat. Greece's culture ministry has ordered the iconic Acropolis to close for several hours in the middle of the day. Meteorologists said hot air coming from Africa will continue baking the nation until Sunday at least. Temperatures on Thursday are expected to reach 43 degrees Celsius.
And the heat is unbelievable. Yes, you have to stay hydrated, drinking, and hopefully you will survive in this weather.
In Croatia, authorities have reported the highest ever temperatures at the Adriatic Sea. In Dubrovnik, thousands of tourists look for shade to hide from the blazing sun while exploring the city, while people at nearby beach resorts sheltered under umbrellas. In Romania, one person has died and another is in a very serious condition after a period of extreme heat. An orange heatwave alert remains for the country. Across Europe, doctors say it's crucial to understand the symptoms of hypothermia and dehydration and act as quickly as possible to avoid serious health problems.
Climate is impacting the life of Sicily very strongly. There are some people that deny climate changes. I think we cannot deny this anymore.
This dry landscape might soon become a familiar sight across Sicily. This island is already facing the severe impacts of global warming with droughts, wildfires, flash floods, and record-breaking temperatures. So how does it feel to live and work here? What is it like to be on the front lines of the climate crisis? Find out in a new episode of Witness.
What we always say as farmers is basically we say that the land is not ours, but we have it land from our children. What's important is to give a future to this farm and to this land. And right now, with this climate changing, this is becoming extremely complicated to think about a future.
Abbiamo grossissime perdite idriche sia nel settore irriguo sia nel settore potabile, cioè l'acqua che viene immessa nelle tubazioni in gran parte si perde perché le reti sono vetuste, le reti non sono state ammodernate.